A friend once told me that home is where you hang your hat. Over the years, I've hung mine in a lot of places. A few Midwest towns, cars, backpacks, hostels, and a house in New Mexico. I've learned that home isn't always a place. Sometimes it's a feeling, one that can come and go. And right now, that feeling lives in Durango, Colorado. My name is Sydney Smolla, and I'm a landscape documentary photographer. I've been doing photography for 10 years, and I recently just quit my corporate job and am going freelance. I used to visit Durango often when I lived across the border in New Mexico for 3 years, surrounded by the Navajo Nation. Here I fell in love with the Southwest culture. Something about Durango, however, always pulled me in. The mountains, flowing rivers, alpine lakes, green grass, and the smell of pine trees, farmers markets, people riding their bikes around town. I fell in love with Durango for many reasons. It really just takes me 20 minutes to get into wild spaces from my apartment, and just being able to have nature right there at my fingertips is the reason why I like to live out here. But also just living in the Four Corners, being 7 hours from Phoenix, driving through the desert with the cactus, and driving to Moab, Utah, and all of the beautiful canyons that are out there as well. That's where I gather my inspiration and kind of why I wanted to move here. We're in Silverton, Colorado, and Silverton is about an hour from Durango, and the steam train comes from Durango into Silverton. This is Mineral Creek, and Mineral Creek feeds into the Animas River. And when I come to this place, basically when I'm looking for a shot to photograph, what is the feeling and the story that I want to tell in that moment? When I'm talking about layers in my storytelling, my photography, not only am I talking about, how the light is or what the animals are doing, kind of diving deeper into the people. How is the land affected by the humanity there? How is the humanity affected by the land? Talking about the story of the land we walk on, just really diving into the history of where I am photographing. So a lot of the places we went to today, Silverton is known for their mining. And in Durango, there used to be a uranium mine, and that uranium mine used to contribute to the Manhattan Project. And it used to affect people who lived downstream from the Animas River. And still today, there are people who have health effects affected from uranium. And so not only am I focusing on uranium, I'm also just wanted to focus on the history, the land we walk on. But even though we have these beautiful landscapes, there's sometimes a darker story behind these places that we paddleboard on, that we photograph. And capturing that whole story and how it really connects all of us, that's kind of the story that I'm trying to tell right now. Durango is kind of known as like the Wild West, but we're also really close to a lot of different mountain scenes, desert scenes. So there's a lot of people who visit from all over. So oftentimes when you're walking downtown, you see a lot of different types of characters. And I sometimes like to just stop them and say, hey, I like your look. Can I take some photos of you? And I've made some really good connections this way. I really like Durango because it has kind of this unique mix of vintage, old Wild West, but also new modern art. And so it's kind of fun to explore with different styles of photography. But I also like to just come downtown and look at the shops. I have a lot of friends who are artists in this community, and it's just become a really great community, and I love to call it home. This is Mullis Lake. And this is probably my favorite spot. It's just really beautiful. The water reflects the mountain peaks. There's camping, and there's also trails around here. So yeah, the gear I use, I absolutely love my Shimoda backpack. In the photography landscape world, there's not a lot of backpacks that are designed for women. And the reason why this fits really great is it fits the female anatomy. So it has support here, has support here, and it has support here. And typically other backpacks, the straps go right across. And I also always bring my Garmin GPS with me. That just helps me feel safe if I'm out by myself taking photos. The camera that I typically shoot with the most is my Sony a7 IV. I also have a Sony a7R IV as my second camera. The lens that I like to use is the Tamron 35 to 150 millimeter, f-stop 2 to 2.8. And this is my workhorse lens. I use this all the time. I also have a 20 millimeter 1.8 and a Sony 85 millimeter 1.8. Typically, if I'm shooting during the day to make the clouds pop, I use the Polar Pro polarizer. This is my dog Max. He's a Belgian Malinois, and I've had him for 5 years. I got him when he was 3. I love traveling with him, taking him with me on my photography adventures. So one of the activities that we really like to do is go paddleboarding. I think that storytelling, photography can really change lives. If you represent a culture or a person or a story that hasn't been told in a way that is meaningful and in a way that is ethical, in a way that is true, but from their perspective, it can change lives. It can change that person's life. It can change the perspective of other people who haven't necessarily been able to step outside of that box that they live in. This photo is one of my favorite photos I've taken. Growing up, seeing astronauts, they were typically portrayed as men, and so I wanted to create an image that inspired young girls that they can be anything they want to be. I ordered a astronaut suit. I called up my friend and we went to Hanksville, Utah. We just kind of walked around in the desert, got some cool drone shots and just a bunch of textures, really just trying to tell the story of women in male-dominated fields.
No matter the season, I find inspiration in the smaller moments. These smaller moments feed bigger ideas. They create a memory bank I draw from to tell stories that hold deeper meaning. The imagery I create is my way of honoring both the beauty and the complexity of this place, to show what we risk when we forget and what we protect when we pay attention. Because loving a place doesn't mean ignoring its past, it means caring enough to see all of it and still wanting to stay.